changing the name. No, you are referring it to as the name of the city of the Prophet ﷺ, but the name that the Prophet used is Yathrib. And in the Quran, Allah refers to it as Yathrib. So you cannot abandon that name as you have done. And all that I am doing is pointing out to you that you cannot abandon the name. All that I am doing to you is reminding you that it is not prohibited to use the name Yathrib. All that I'm reminding you, it is not derogatory, the name Yathrib. That's all I'm doing. That's all, that's all, that's all. So don't tell me I'm prohibited from using the name Yathrib. Okay, there's a call from Diego Martin. Hello?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sheikh,
Yeah.
do you think now with the threat to the US dollar by the Chinese currency, do you think that this could provoke the war rather than, say, North Korea? And in which case, Trump might be only the scapegoat that they will blame, but it will really be those who control the monetary system who will be doing this.
Diego Martin,
Jazakallah.
are you Trinidadian?
Yes, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't think Trinidadians were so advanced in their thinking.
Yeah.
I thought most people in Trinidad fared dodo.
Yeah.
I congratulate you, Diego Martin. Yes, I congratulate you, mashallah. I'm happy, I'm proud that I have people in Trinidad who are so advanced in their thinking. Yes, I think the main cause of the nuclear war which is coming is the mountain of gold. You know what I'm talking about. The mountain of gold. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, hadith is in Sahih Bukhari, he said that the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. Euphrates is in Iraq. It will uncover a mountain of gold and people will fight for that gold. And 99 out of every 100 would be killed. And each one would say, I will be the one who survived, but the believers must not touch that gold. When in 1974, Henry Kissinger fooled King Faisal and got him to agree to this manifestly haram agreement that Saudi Arabia will sell its oil for only US dollars, only US dollars. And this is what the Chinese are now challenging. This is what the Chinese are challenging. The agreement was that Saudi Arabia and the Arab oil producing countries after that and OPEC would sell their oil for only US dollars, which meant that there would be a tremendous perpetual demand for US dollars, since oil is the biggest commodity traded in the world market. And that will, once there's a demand for the US dollar, it survives, yes. And that will allow the US dollar to fly high. This is the petrodollar monetary system. And when this came into being in 1974, the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was fulfilled. Yes, it was fulfilled in 1974. But if you want to sit down on a sofa and wait for a mountain of the metal to come out of the river, by all means, keep waiting. Keep waiting. So I agree with you. That's right. What the Chinese have done is very, very skillful. You know that the Articles of Agreement of the International Monetary Fund created by Dajjal prohibits the use of gold as money. The reason why they prohibited it is because you cannot have this bogus monetary system. It will not survive if gold is in the market. The good money will destroy the bogus money. So they had to prohibit the use of gold as money. That's what the Articles of Agreement of the International Monetary Fund have done. And by gold, when they say gold is prohibited, they imply silver as well. Probably they didn't have the courage to put in the word silver, but they meant silver as well. So what the Chinese have done is very skillful. And it is certainly an attack on the petrodollar monetary system. The Chinese are saying, we are going to buy your oil from you, and China is now the biggest customer that the Saudis have, surpassing the United States. So if your biggest customer says, I'll pay you in Chinese yuan, but when I pay you in Chinese yuan, you can convert the yuan to gold. We'll convert it for you to gold at whatever is the market price of gold. So you'll have gold, real money. If Saudi Arabia agrees to this, and I don't see any way that the Saudis can escape, they're stuck in this now, and they're in a big predicament now in the economy, then that will be the beginning of the end of the petrodollar monetary system. So yes, the big war that's coming is because of the attack on the petrodollar monetary system, which will become the collapse of the US dollar. But they cannot allow the US dollar to collapse other than in a big war. Because if the US dollar collapses, there'll be chaos, there'll be anarchy in the United States. That's the country of the world where you have the most guns in the hands of people. Oh yes, there will be anarchy in the United States if the US dollar collapses. So they'll have to hide the collapse of the monetary system in some kind of a big envelope like a nuclear war. So I agree with you that this is what is likely, but they have to have a trigger to pull for the war to begin. And the war will not begin with a direct attack on Russia and China. They have to have some proxy. And I think they are fishing for war in Korea and using that to try to provoke Korea to respond to them with some kind of a military response, and then use that as the excuse to launch a war on Korea, which will drag China into the war. And when China is dragged into war, then Russia will be dragged into the war, and it will become the nuclear war, whole war. Okay, but I congratulate you on your question. I didn't realize that we had people in Trinidad who were so advanced in their thinking. I'm very happy about that. Okay, another question. When do you expect World War III? I just answered that. Someone says, I have a lot of cash, paper money. What should I do with it? Answer, if you have a lot of paper money, they want you to put it in the bank. If you do not put it in the bank, then they'll give you a certain time, and after that, they will demonetize the paper. You cannot use the paper as money. So all that paper money that you have, you can use it as wallpaper. That's right. Would this be the first time in history? Oh no, there have been many instances in history already where money has been used like wallpaper. That's right. So that's their plan. They want to force you to put your money in the bank. And we're going to be discussing this on the 5th of November. They use every single trick in the book to force you to put your money in the bank. So you can't put your money underneath the mattress anymore. Once your money is in the bank, then your money has become a hostage. But I've spoken on this subject already, and we'll be discussing this on the 5th of November. What are the implications of having all your money in electronic money tomorrow? What are the implications? What I will do if I have a lot of paper money is I'll buy gold and silver. Where do we buy gold and silver coins in Trinidad? We're going to discuss that subject, inshallah. So I'm not going to talk on that now. And keep my money in gold and silver. Or I'll buy land, or I'll buy animals. Because our Prophet said, do you know the hadith? He said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, if you have land, hold on to your land. If you have animals, hold on to your animals. So that's what I'll do with my paper money. But you want to discuss with your mufti? Ask him whether the paper money is halal. Go and ask your mufti. Go and ask your maulana. Go and ask your sheikh. Ask them. If they close the door, knock and knock and knock and knock and knock until they open the door, and ask them, is it halal? If he says, well, maybe it is makruh. And you can ask, well, why did you not say this to us all this time? Why is it 20 years now Imran has been talking on this subject and you remain so ominously silent? What is wrong with you? Ask them. Ask them. If it is halal, explain to us why is it halal. Where is the proof? Okay? The next question is, but I have to live. And I cannot buy things with gold and silver. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I remember I gave a khutbah in a masjid here in Trinidad. I won't mention the name. I don't want to embarrass anyone. How many years ago? Almost 10 years ago. And in that khutbah, this was when the great collapse took place in 2008 in money. In that khutbah, I urged here in Trinidad that we should concentrate on building a market. If I had a large portion of land on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway or on the Solomon Hochoy Highway, what would I do with that land? I would build a market. And in that market, there are stalls where people can come and buy and sell. And the market is open for Christians, for Jews, for everybody, but the market will be run on the basis of Islamic principles of business ethics. Yes. And the world will be watching with wonder, is this Islam? How come we waited so long for this? Why you never brought Islam to this country? Huh? That's what I would do. I'd build a market. That's what I would do. I would build a market. And in that market, we'd use gold and silver coin, not gold really, but silver coins for buying and selling. The khutbah came and the khutbah went and nobody bothered. Nobody bothered. So, yes, if we can put our heads together and formulate a plan to establish a market, I don't think the government of Trinidad and Tobago will be so foolish. I do not think that the Trinidad and Tobago government will be so foolish as to put their foot in to try to stop us. I don't think they'll be so foolish with a capital F to put their foot in to try to stop us. Yes, if we want to build a market where people can buy and sell using money which is real money, which the temple in Jerusalem at the time of Jesus, the temple in Jerusalem at the time of Jesus, let me remind the Christians, the temple in Jerusalem, we call it Masjid al-Aqsa, you call it the temple, minted its own coins, yes, gold and silver coins, and they used the gold and silver coins for buying and selling. If the temple in Jerusalem used it, which governments will be so stupid to try to stop us from using it? This is what we can do to build our own market. Dear Sheikh, we Muslims love our religion, that's very obvious. We are prepared to fight and to die for our Prophet. We hear of events in Pakistan where an individual has, okay, that's all, I don't know what's the rest of the question. An individual has something. Next question. Sheikh, tell us something about the Mahdi. Not now, we're talking about money now. Okay, an individual has controversial opinion of our religion and our brothers are not able to control themselves, resulting in violence and death. How should we react to people who claim our holy book does not say the truth? How should we react to people who claim that our holy book does not say the truth? You can reject Islam, you can reject the Quran, And that does not mean we have to wage war on you. No. Our response to you would be, lakum dinukum waliya din. To you your religion and to us ours. So your rejection of Islam or your rejection of the Quran does not result in warfare. However, you have your religion and your way of life and we have ours. If you want to step into our home, where we want to live the way of life of Islam, and in our home you want to wage war on the Quran, then it's time for us to take out the sword and get rid of you. That's right. This is treason. This is sedition. This is trying to put a sword on our throat inside of our home. That cannot be allowed. No. If you are living in your house and you have your religion and we living in ours and we have our religion, and you reject ours and you say the Quran is false, our response is, lakum dinukum waliya din. That's right. You have your way, we have ours. That's a peaceful response. But you can't come into our house to wage war on our religion. No, we take out the sword for you. All right. I don't understand. Are you allowed to lie? It is allowed to lie to the Zionist people and rest the government. What are they lying about? I don't understand. Maybe you should speak. You should write to me in English. Do you have any information concerning the Sea of Galilee? Oh, the reason why he asked about the Sea of Galilee is because, do we have any more calls? I don't see any more. If you want to call in and give us your opinion, we'll be very happy to hear your opinion. Maybe you would say something to us which will be of value, and we can then use that and have a discussion on that on the 5th of November in our brainstorming session. So do please call. I'm waiting for your calls. The numbers are at the bottom of the screen. Now then, the Sea of Galilee. The reason why he asks about the Sea of Galilee, because the Sea of Galilee is in the Holy Land, and our Prophet said about Gog and Magog. You remember what he said? He said that when Allah releases Gog and Magog, the first of them will pass by the Sea of Galilee on his way to Jerusalem. Well, the word Jerusalem is not in the Hadith, of course. The Prophet used the name Baytul Maqdis, like he used the name Yathrib, and he used the name Constantinople. So we should follow the Sunnah. The Sunnah is Constantinople, the Sunnah is Yathrib, and the Sunnah is Baytul Maqdis. He said the Gog and Magog will pass the Sea of Galilee on the way to Baytul Maqdis, or Jerusalem, and they will start to drink the water. And by the time the last of them all pass, they will say there used to be water here. Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, will not return until the Sea of Galilee is dry. The Christian doesn't know that. But we Muslims know that because we have Prophet Muhammad. Allah's blessing be upon him. Yes, Faisal on the phone. Hello?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Maulana, our money is already tied up with the U.S. government. We already signed up things for fraudulent money and them kind of laws that they have put up on us already. How we can deal with that?
Our money is already tied up.
Yeah.
The first response is, if you borrow money on interest, then Allah says in the Quran that if you turn away from the interest of the riba, فَلَكُمْ رُؤُوسُ أَمْوَالِكُمْ, you have an obligation to repay the principal sum which was borrowed. You do not have an obligation to repay the interest. So what we would say, if we are Pakistan, for example, and you have so many loans, that's why they give you the loans. They gave you the loans so they could tie your feet and make you a slave. That's why they give you the loans. And they're giving loans of what? Invisible money, paper money. They didn't work for it, no sweat. Using that bogus money to tie you up. So what we say to you is, yes, we borrow this money from you, and we repay whatever we borrowed from you, but we're not going to pay any interest, not now. Number two, we will repay you the money on the basis of our capacity to repay. On the basis of our capacity to repay. That's how we repay you the money. So if Trinidad and Tobago borrowed money, and Trinidad and Tobago wants to follow a path in which there is a capacity to survive and escape slavery, then this is what Trinidad and Tobago should do. But we don't have that kind of government in this country. We have governments who have such blind, they have eyes and they can't see, that now the government says that if she is 17 years of age, she cannot be married. Yes, wait. All of you who support that legislation, all the political parties in parliament who supported that legislation, we who follow the religious way of life, we are telling you, wait until you go in the grave and you'll see what you'll do for challenging the law of God. Yes. So for those who are with debts and you cannot pay your debts, this is the way to respond. Another call from Diego Martin. Hello?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Walaikum salam.
Sheikh, are you aware that some years ago, President Nkrumah of Ghana, he appealed to all third world countries to band together and make a decision to stop paying interest. And this would have gotten out the countries from their perpetual debts. But nobody took him on.
Okay, I want you to do me a favor. My email address is at the bottom of the screen. Hello? Yeah. You find my email address at the bottom of the screen. Give me the evidence that President Kwame Nkrumah ever made such a statement. Give me the proof, okay? It's very important to me. Dr. Williams had very great respect for Kwame Nkrumah, and it was in 1964. Williams went on an African safari, yes. And one of his stops was Ghana. He took a delegation from Trinidad to Ghana, and he met with Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana in 1964. And then from there, he went around, and then he came to Cairo. And I was a student in Cairo. And we invited to meet with him. And I met with him, and I shook hands with him in Cairo. So please take my email address and send me the proof that Kwame Nkrumah made such a statement. Okay, we continue now with the questions. But I'm not getting any calls from you. What happened? I'm not getting any calls from you in which you will suggest to me, what can we do? What can we do as Muslims to set an example for the Christians and the Hindus in this country, that we Muslims are leading the way of responding to the predicament of electronic and digital money and virtual money? Aren't you thinking? Come on, let me hear what you have to say. All right, we still have some time. Okay, what about the coming of Nabi Isa alayhi salam? He will descend after the Dajjal in order to kill him. So how will we be able to recognize Jesus alayhi salatu wasalam? What about the Mahdi? These are not questions connected with money. I want questions and I want comments connected to money. We'll have another time to deal with the Mahdi and so on. My son insists to ask me if cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, is halal. Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. Is Bitcoin halal? What do you say? What do you say? Tell me. What do you say? Answer. Money in the Quran and money in the Sunnah is always money with intrinsic value. You never hear this on the khutbah, do you? You hear everything else on the khutbah, you will not hear this in the khutbah. No. Money in the Quran and money in the Sunnah is always money with intrinsic value. The value of the money has to be in the money, okay? It is value created by Allah. Allah creates wealth, not George Soros. Bitcoin is like paper money. Bitcoin is like all other invisible, intangible, electronic money. It is fictitious money, and therefore it cannot be halal. Bitcoin is now legalized by the government of Malaysia as legal tender. The government of Malaysia has legalized Bitcoin as legal tender. Are you listening to me in Malaysia? Your government has legalized Bitcoin as legal tender, meaning you can use Bitcoin to buy and sell in Malaysia. But they will not legalize dinar and dirham. What a shame. What an awful shame for all the religious institutions in Malaysia who are supposed to be upholding the religion, for all the ustaz and the maulanas and the shuyukh and the muftis of Malaysia who are supposed to be upholding the religion. The dinar and dirham are not allowed as legal tender in Malaysia. You cannot use it to buy and sell. But Bitcoin is legal tender. Shame on you. Shame on you. Now then, we do not have any more calls. I want to return in the few minutes we have to remind you that one form of riba is of course buying and borrowing and lending money on interest, but another form of riba is to rip off people. Okay, I gave you the hadith, to rip off people. And this monetary system that we have is ripping off people. It is ripping off Algeria, it is ripping off Pakistan, ripping off Bangladesh, ripping off Indonesia, ripping off Africa. It's the biggest rip off of us all. So it is riba. How come we don't get a khutbah on riba? If you know any imam giving a khutbah on riba in Trinidad, please send me an email. I want to go and listen to him. Because I don't know, maybe Santa Claus have to come on a reindeer from the North Pole to give a khutbah on riba because nobody else wants to do it. We need a khutbah on riba so that we'll be able to understand the subject and people can be reminded. But before I end, let me remind you what I said last time, that cash transaction and a credit transaction must have the same price. If the credit price is higher than the cash price, then the reason why it is higher than the cash price is because you have to wait for your money. And therefore your money must be able to increase over time. Money increasing over time is called riba. Money that increases over time, the increase is called riba. So a cash transaction which is higher than a credit transaction, the price of the credit transaction is higher than the cash transaction. The difference between the two will be riba. So credit price and cash price must be the same. All right? Murabaha is a credit transaction. The Islamic banks give you murabaha, and it is a credit transaction. And the credit price is higher than the cash price. The difference between the two is riba. Do you hear me? The difference between the two is riba. You better understand now before you go in the grave. Because when you go in the grave, it will be too late for you with your bogus fatwa and your bogus guidance to the people with your Islamic banking system and your Islamic credit union and all this nonsense. I am sorry that I become so angry, but I've been talking for 20 years now, and I'm fed up, and I am frustrated. So kindly forgive me if I become angry sometimes. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum rahmatullah.